I wanted to talk about this thing. I have a sefer here, Bir Hashir Bar Yochai. Now, really, there's a person, Rabbi Shaya Asher Zelig Margulis. I don't know how many people have heard of him. He's a very interesting man. Rabbi Shaya Asher Zelig Margulis was born in Hungary somewhere, I think. He comes to Eretz Yisrael, and he has the most interesting collection of rebbeim that a person can have. First, he becomes very close to Reb Chaim Shal Dweck, who's a Syrian, like an Aram Tzova. It was the Rav of Aram Tzova, a big Mekubal. He learns Kabbalah by Chaim Shal Dweck. He becomes close with the Baruchov Rebbe, who he quotes in the Sefer Land. Now, Baruchov is a Jikiv / Rapshitz, probably Galicia, like, what do you say? Yeah, like a Galiciana Rebbe, not a big Rebbe, like a small time Galiciana Rebbe, but a big Yachsim, like after Rapshitz is Einikel or whatever. Then he becomes close with the Saba Kadisha, Shlomo Eliezer Alfandri, I think his name was. I got his name wrong. Comes close with the Saba Kadisha, who was supposedly like a 110-year-old Syrian Mekubal who was living in Yerushalayim then. And he also becomes very close with the Minchas Elazar, the Munkatcher Rebbe in Hungary. He actually, in the 1920s, Mamash, right before the Saba Kadisha dies, the Munkatcher makes a trip to visit the Saba Kadisha. It's a fascinating story. The Munkatcher goes thinking that the Saba Kadisha might be Mashiach, that he's going to be able to bring him. The Minchas Elazar, the one before the war. And some of his Talmidim, the Munkatcher's Talmidim, record the trip. There's a sefer, there's like a book called the Hanasiya, L'Eretz Yisrael, where I have it. He's a big contributor. Rabbi Yishaya Shazed Magulis is a big contributor to that, and they have fascinating conversations. The Munkatcher tries to encourage the Saba Kadisha to be Mashiach and to come save everybody, to reveal himself. Half of it is like miscommunications. A Rebbe who only speaks, Yiddish and probably Hungarian, and Alta Mekubal who only speaks, Arabic and a little bit of Hebrew. You could read the conversations. It's like funny, like the thing. If he's also there, that he's old, whatever. Turns ultimately, while the Munkatcher is in Eretz Yisrael, the Saba Kadisha is nifter actually, which is very, very depressing for the Munkatcher. I mean, he came to like do something, and the Saba Kadisha dies.
Why did he was Rebbe?
What did you say?
Why did the Munkatcher think he was the Rebbe? I mean, yeah.
It's a whole book. It's a whole story. It's funny, very interesting conversations. But it's not. And my point is just this Shai Shizak Margolis is like a Talmud of these. Like this whole collection of rabbis, he's the one who puts together this meeting. Now, was close later on with the Chazon Ish, with the Rielish of Satmar, with all the different, very eclectic person. Now, his claim to fame is that he's one of the biggest Rav Shimon ben Yochai and Miron boosters. Like he writes in his lifetime, 8 to 10 svarim. I'll tell you exactly what he wrote. His svarim are, let's say. He writes a sefer Bir Hashir Bar Yochai, which is a sefer I have on the table over here. Koichel der Elazar Reb Shimon, sefer Shvachim der Rashbi, Midas Rashbi, Ashrei Esh, Kumi Yari, Kuntrus Kol HaKonik Reb Shmi, Tekin Chatzais, Maimer Elazar der Rashbi, Kisel Yanavi. He's a very big Rashbi and Reb Shimon and Elazar Reb Shimon, like Oisik on a tremendous level. He pushes the Madura Miron. He's one of the very important people in making Miron what it is today. Miron in the Miron, people were going to Miron to do like BaOmer celebrations probably since the early 1700s or mid 1700s, but much less than it is now. Like it develops into what it is now. He's one of the very important people who developed it. Now,
classical growth. It's not
no. There's also people and push it. It's never just natural growth. I'm saying there's.
It's like
in Uman, similar. So he's one of the very important people. But he's one of the very, very important people in building it up. Now, this sefer I bring over here is the Bir Hashir Bar Yochai. It's a fascinating sefer. The shir that everyone's saying, if you were at a fire last night, or that you sing, Bar Yochai, that the tune is not from that sefer's about. But this shir itself is made up by Shimon ben Levi, or Shimon Levi. He's a child of Spain, Sephardi, who was kicked out with his family as a kid in 1492 by the Girush. He moves to Fez, to Morocco, gets educated in like Moroccan Sephardic tradition, and then eventually decides he wants to make Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. Shimon Levi. On his way up, he stops in Tripoli, which is Tunisia, maybe. Where's Tripoli? Tripoli is maybe where's Gaddafi from? Libya. I think Tripoli's in Libya, right? Libya. He becomes the chief rabbi of Tripoli, Libya, which is like a small kehillah of Sephardim. And he thinks he's going to do it only for a short amount of time, but he can't leave because the Maisa, they're big Emiratim, and they have no one. If he leaves them, they're bereft, so he stays. like with the Libyan Keelan, he becomes the Rav of Tripoli, Libya, and he creates this song in like the mid 1500s called Bar Yochai. It's 10 stanzas of different milas of Rav Shimon ben Yochai. For years, nobody knows about it. This person, Rav Shimon Levi, since he was Rav in Tripoli, his Svarim published. For years and years, nobody knew about the song. At some point, like maybe 100, 150 years after Rav Shimon Levi was alive, the song became something that was published, became something popular. And later on, people like Rav Shaya Shadal Magulis popularized it and made it into a thing. Like, so this song, it was like a song that came from like the late 1500s from like a off the reservation Sephardi rabbi in Tripoli, a good person, the Tam Chacham, who wrote Ksavim on Kabbalah. His Ksavim on Kabbalah only published like in the 1900s, I think. Like, it was mamish like only like discovered from later on. But in this song, so there's these 10 stanzas, and Rav Shaya Shadal makes mascaras of what exactly Rav Shimon Levi is referring to in each word, in each stanza. Like, what's he referring to now? What's interesting is Rav Shimon Levi lived, like we said, pretty remote. He did not have access to the Kisvei Arizal. He never saw the Kisvei Arizal. The Shemona Sha'arim, the B'Yitz Chaim, the Eitz Chaim. He never saw any of this. All of the Rav Chaim Vital and Shmuel Vital and the Madur Rishon, the Meir Pappers and Rav Yaakov, like any version of Kisvei Arizal, he never saw. What he did have is a Zayar and some earlier Kabbalah Svarim. And this song, so Mela, this song is not based on Arizal Kabbalah. It's based on like Zayar and like earlier Kabbalah. This song, Rav Shaya Shadal points out, is comprised of over 800 references to Kabbalistic ideas in the Zayar and etc. Meaning the song is brilliant. It's brilliant. It might not be up-to-date Kabbalah, meaning it's missing Kisvei or whatever. Like, it's not based on like what we call modern Lorianic, Kisvei Kabbalah, but it's a fascinating kishron that the guy has. And this whole sefer over here is over 800 Maramakamis. Mostly from Zayar, some Midrashim, some Chazal, something, mostly Zayar, but also other things, pointing out every detail, every line in the song Bar Yochai, like which particular Zayar or Kabbalistic thing is being mentioned when he makes it. Now, I would say, I don't know what time, I would sample you, just like, I'll literally just start, like the first, the what do you call it, the refrain in the song is Bar Yochai Nimshach Ashrecha Shem Tzas Mechaverecha. Right there at the end of each stanza, we say that. So let's just go like into that refrain. So he starts with right away, what's Bar Yochai? Why is Hashem referred to by his father's name? He he asks as a kasha. He says, "It's the Medrash Sheikhotayv in Tehillim that says, David Melech says, Ad Masay Kvoidu L'Chlima, the Kairunesi Ben Yishai, Leslie Shane." David Melech says, "Why are you calling me Ben Yishai? Kilo is money. I don't have a name. Like, until when is my covenant going to be like Mushbelas? Just call me Ben Yishai." To which over there the Medrash says something. Whatever the Medrash says something that Tzaddikim B'Hai Alma is all fun. Whatever he brings a thing, then he brings the Gam Efshel Lirma is to answer the Kasha Mashakasav B'Tikkunim. This is in Tikkunim Zayar. The Moshe Ikri Bar. Moshe Rabbeinu was referred to as Bar, the son. Why? Because the Zayar says in Hashmatas to the Zayar in Chelik Aleph, it says as follows: Rashbi says L'Raya Mehemna Antu Bar Raya Mehemna. Raya Mehemna is Moshe Rabbeinu. Rav Shimon Yochai is talking to Moshe Rabbeinu Kaviyachon and says Antu Bar Raya Mehemna. You're the son of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Allah Itmar, and you it says Nashku Bar Le'elah. Bar the Kochabrichu V'Shchente. The Zayar elsewhere says Asa Kochabrichu Nashata L'Raya Mehemna V'Amar Raya Mehemna Antu Bra Dili V'Shchente. So you see, Moshe Rabbeinu is referred to in some manner, and obviously this could be tricky when you're dealing with Catholicism, whatever. Meaning this type of sprach, right? Bara Lahin is a very tricky sprach when you say the Son of God. We spoke, I think, in the past. Some Sefer was misnagid to Brich Shmei being part of davening, because it says Loyal Bara Lahin Samichna. Right, what's a Bar Lahin? Now the truth is that the Psukim in Daniel in Perak Gimel and Dal describe Bar Lahin, it means Malachim. So that's really what it means. But the Chosei felt it was questionable enough that he didn't want to say it in part of Tehillim, even though it's a Zayr. But it's there in Parshat Vayakov. But this Zayr also says Moshe Rabbeinu Raya Mehemna is referred to as Bar Lahin. So it says Rav Shimon Levi, when it says Bar Yochai, is that Rav Shimon Yochai also achieved that level, that madrega Moshe Rabbeinu. Bar Yochai, the reason why it's called Bar Yochai, even though the Gemara is called Rav Shimon all the time. Stam Rav Shimon is Rav Shimon Yochai, and but the reason why in the Zayar or in the song, like the one that's referred to as Bar Yochai, is like b'dayim to this, like Bar Lahin. Then it continues on to the next part, like Nimshachta Ashrecha Hashem Etzas Mechaverecha. Means what's Nimshachta Ashrecha? See, Melash in the pasuk, Hashem he brings Nimshachta Melash and Moshe, like he's the Mashpia, which particular Ashpayas he has. Then he brings an alternate pshat in it, and this stuff goes on and on. Each one of these things. The first one was 2 or 3 Zayar quotes, together with the Shari Yisachar, which is an early Kabbalistic sefer published in Tzvas, or Yisachar, I forgot his name in a second, but a contemporary of the Beis Yosef. It's mamish 800, close to 1,000 Marmakaimis. and like every line of the song, it goes on and on and on. I'm just sampling an example. In any case, it's a fascinating sefer and definitely contributed a lot to the popularity. Like it took the song like out of obscurity and out of being just like episode Niggun from some old Sardi Pia like that, you know what I'm saying, and turned it into like a very primary, like part of like BaOmer service. Anyhow, but Stam, if you want the sefer, feel free to borrow it.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.